Alright, so I guess today we're going to talk about the internet's favorite guy. I'm talking about Elon Musk. I'm sure you've heard of him. I'm sure you've seen a bunch of videos about him. So if you want to hear somebody rant about Elon Musk some more, you're in the right place. I mean, the real place to start is Elon Musk smart? And if you know anything about Elon Musk, then you're going to know that, spoiler alert here, no, he's not. He's not smart. He's not some super genius Iron Man fucking businessman. That's just not who he is at all. I mean, who Elon Musk is essentially a gambler. We can talk about his beginnings here so you can really just see this pattern that really has continued and amplified and, to be quite honest, paid off. I mean, he's good at gambling, if as much as someone can be good at gambling. But that doesn't make him really a genius at all. Betting on tech companies and claiming to be some type of tech genius is the same as betting on sports and claiming to be an athlete. But I digress. I don't want to go too much into his past, but essentially he was just a rich kid. His dad wasn't around most of the time. Owned an emerald mine that had slaves working in it, even though Elon Musk denies that now. He doesn't like anybody to bring that up, even though we got that story from him originally. He's the one who said it, but whatever. He got some money from his dad, then his dad died, and he got a bunch more money, and like a lot of people do when their dad died, he started spiraling, and he just started making these big wild bets on things like PayPal, although it was called X.com back then, not the same X.com that we have now. That's just a domain name that he had, but a different company that would become PayPal and then would become successful once another company bought it and started running it. He also did some stuff where he was more or less doing an online phone book, which at the time's pretty cutting edge. Kind of seems like a pretty safe bet right there, that people would look up phone numbers on the internet. But he sold that too. He made money, good money, and then he eventually invested in a company called Tesla. Probably heard of them. No, he did not found Tesla, though he did jockey for position really hard, just like he did at the last two companies that he was at, to make himself CEO. That seems to be like his main focus, is just investing a lot and then trying to become CEO, doing it so much that it's kind of hard to believe that he had very much, if any, time to do any actual work. But who knows what a CEO does anyway, so that's kind of neither here nor there. And then, he used this CEO status to do what he really likes to do, which is to pretend that he's something that he's not. He wants to be CEO so he can, be like the top nerd. He wants to be top nerd, real bad. But he's not a nerd, because nerds are smart. He's kind of just a geek who, probably had an Isaac Asimov book explained to him one time. I'm sure he knows of iRobot. I mean, I doubt he's read it himself. Who knows if the guy can even read? I mean, he did grow up in South Africa, which he seems to think is some type of hellhole, which leads me to believe that it's some type of hellhole where no one can read. Because that's what he said, but I'm sure he'd get mad about me saying that, because, in addition to being a geek, he's kind of a giant bitch, thin-skinned little bitch about everything. But yeah, anyway, so once he invested in Tesla, and then later SpaceX, he figured out the best possible way that a person can fund their gambling addiction, and that's to get welfare from the government. He gets his welfare and then he gambles with it. And if you don't know, Tesla makes most of its money, or at least it did in the past. Things might be changing a little bit now. I kind of doubt it because he's in the White House now, but essentially Tesla was just funded by taxpayers. Electric cars just get huge subsidies from the government, so he never really had to like make much money, like in the actual like business sense of, you know, selling a product people want and exchanging that for currency. He never really had to do that because money was coming in all on its own. And anything he sold on top of that, I mean, that's just, you know, an extra stack on the roulette table for this guy. I mean, during that time, in addition to, you know, trying to pretend to be a super genius, he also tried to position himself as this kind of like eco warrior. And I'm not gonna lie, I fell for that shit. I think everybody really fell for that shit, but it was all just kind of like part of the grift. Especially now that we know that producing electric cars is like significantly worse for the environment than anything a gas-powered car can do on the street, which is really funny. And I'm sure somebody ran that by him at some point, but either he wasn't listening or he didn't want to tell us. I mean, it just kind of goes into his like grifter tendencies of just like, you know, trying to really like present himself as like a very human guy that you can believe in, which is something that addicts do. You know what I mean? Not saying that addicts aren't human, and I also don't want to say that, you know, worst thing in the world you can do is be addicted to gambling like this guy is, but I mean, let's be real. He is using his welfare checks to gamble with. I mean, that's a little low, dog. Like, you might want to go to rehab about that, but I mean, I guess when it makes you a billionaire, why the hell would you? I mean, so look at it from the purely like I'm not sure what the word is. I don't want to say clinical, but how do I describe this? If you're addicted to gambling, but you keep winning, why would you think that you have a problem? Why would you think that, you know, what you're doing is scummy? I mean, you're winning. He's winning. And I mean, he's also like being seen as what he wants to be seen as, which is like this genius guy who's really good at business. And he's a big inspiration to all the nerds, which again, he's not a nerd. Nerds are smart. But he thinks he's something, and there's no negative ramifications to his welfare-driven gambling addiction and his narcissism. So I guess I sort of kind of see where he's coming from in a way. I mean, yeah. I mean, it really just kind of plays into this whole other like thing about him, which is like that he's just a really big like beta male type. Like, you know, he's always trying to say that he's a big man, which is like a thing that beta males do a lot. I mean, I don't generally use that term, but it seems like a term he would use to describe somebody else. But, you know, that's just a deflection coming from the welfare recipient, gambling addict, weak-egoed narcissist that, you know, other people are weak because he's really weak. I mean, that's why he has those hair plugs. That's why he got that fake jaw. That's why he takes testosterone all the time, because he really thinks that a man is supposed to be something that he wasn't, that he never was, but now he has the money to take on that appearance. Like, he can buy that appearance in his companies, and then he can, you know, physically try to look like what he thinks a man is supposed to look like, which is some pretty beta ass shit, man. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, he could, instead of taking testosterone, just do what a responsible grown man would do and start working out, start eating right, like things like that that would probably solve his obesity, that's probably leading to his low testosterone. But like that would require actual work. And Elon Musk doesn't know how to do actual work. So of course he's going to get a bunch of hair plugs and shit. I mean, he uses the cheat codes, even though they're not going to be able to beat nature. But he's so delusional that he thinks he's going to be the guy to beat nature. That's why he's always talking about terraforming Mars and all this stuff, because he like really thinks he's special, or at least he wants people to think that he's special. I don't know. There's like some layer in his brain he must realize that he's still Elon Musk. Like he's still just some fucking guy who just got lucky and was born rich. But like on another level, he really thinks that he's Elon Musk. You know what I mean? Which is, I don't know, somebody that nobody really likes anyway. So it's kind of a weird thing to get hung up on. Like a weird personality to obsess over trying to be is a guy that nobody likes anyway. And we would probably like old Elon better, before the welfare-fueled gambling addiction, hair plug, jaw implant, fucking testosterone-boosted fucking assistant president or something. But, I mean, whatever. Despite the fact that he's, like, gotten all this gender-affirming care, he really, really loves to talk shit about other people who get gender-affirming care. But, I mean, we're not even going to go into his politics necessarily, because he doesn't really know anything about politics. Like, I mean, I think that's when I started to realize how stupid he was, because, I mean, when he was talking about electric cars, I didn't know shit about electric cars, so I thought he knew what he was talking about. I mean, he was successful, so I figured he did. We started talking about rockets. I don't know anything about space flight, so it seemed like he did. But then when he started talking about, like, politics, and I mean, there's just this little example the other day, and because it's not because I disagree with his politics. I just mean he doesn't understand them, period. Like, this thing he said the other day that was like, a judge blocked something that Trump did, and he tried to say that that's unconstitutional, and it's like, bro, do you not know about the judicial branch? And then, like, it became very apparent that, like, no, he doesn't know about the judicial branch. He doesn't know how the government functions. I mean, he's from a fucking another country, so, I mean, it makes sense that he wouldn't know how this country functions. But, like, I don't know, you think if you knew enough about a country to illegally immigrate to it and then get welfare to fund your gambling addiction and your gender-affirming care, you would have a basic understanding of, like, legislative versus executive versus judicial, like, just that basic stuff. But it doesn't really seem like he does. And then, that made me start looking into other shit and realizing that he really doesn't know anything about anything. Like how he was talking about getting to Mars by 2026 because he just does not understand what goes into rocket science. Like he thinks that he can just do rocket science, like it's just a thing that happens, and that he's got some idea that nobody's ever thought of, even though they read that same Isaac Asimov book that he had explained to him. So obviously the people below him know something, especially because, they actually went to school and did the work to learn the stuff, to put it into practice for real, whereas he just kind of like gambled on it, and it's successful because, his advisor hired a bunch of people who actually knew what they were doing. He probably would have just hired I guess he doesn't have any friends. I would imagine he doesn't have any friends. I'm not sure who he would have hired. Maybe he would have tried to do it all himself. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, who knows what he would have done in that situation. But I mean, if he was really like this humanitarian, patriotic, conservative guy, I can tell you he would have started that company in South Africa, where he could operate with significantly less regulation and oversight, and he would have really been able to put his ideas into practice and, help the people in his country that, could probably use the help a lot more than we could, but instead he just decided to illegally immigrate and get welfare, gamble, and get gender affirming care. But, yeah, moving on from that. He doesn't really seem to understand that, if we want to get to his goal of like this interstellar colonization of other planets, it would probably be necessary to help out those poor countries first, because we're going to need to function as a planet before we can start colonizing other planets. I mean, and then there's also the obvious roadblock of, if we want to colonize other planets, we need to know how to terraform other planets. And if we knew how to terraform other planets, and we need to get to other planets because this planet's going to die, then why wouldn't we just terraform the planet that we're already on? But whatever, that's like things you have to think about. And Elon Musk only knows what he read in a Green Lantern comic, so that's kind of unfortunate. And I think that all really stems from what I think is a problem with him, but a problem with the whole billionaire class and the multimillionaire class, and to an extent the millionaire class as well. Pretty much people who just aren't working people, which is that they lack practical knowledge. Like he can't put together that we would obviously need world peace and to have humanity functioning really well on this planet before functioning on another planet, because he just doesn't understand anything about how life works. So he can't come to logical conclusions because he's never had to apply logic in any type of situation. Like let's just say, I mean, he makes cars, but do you think he's ever driven a car? Do you think he knows how to drive a car? He talks about traffic, but do you think he's ever actually sat in it? He's been rich his whole life. He's always had a driver. He doesn't understand how to drive a car. He doesn't understand going to the grocery store. I mean, he's never taken public transportation. That's for damn sure. I mean, and if you don't do things like that, or clean your own house, or go to the laundromat, or I don't know, have to work for actual wages, knowing that if you don't do a good job, you might live on the street. These are things that have never happened to him, and he's never had conversations with people about these things either, because he's always been rich. He's never been around normal people, so he can't think like a normal person would think. Oh, well, let me stay in my poor country and help build up the economy so that we can all have a better life, and this will be the hub of space travel in the future. He doesn't think like that, because he doesn't think about people around him, because he doesn't know them. He doesn't have any common social experiences, and he doesn't understand people's needs. He thinks we need to colonize other planets, but in reality, right now, what people need is jobs that pay well, so they can, be secure and have kids and have time to raise their families and stuff. I mean, he's also Mr. Worried About the Population guy, but he can't seem to grasp that people need to be making enough money to feel comfortable before they have kids. Especially if you want them to be raised well and then grow up to have the knowledge to do interstellar space flight. But he just doesn't get that, because he's never had to work for wages. He inherited a bunch of money, and he gambled it, and then he figured out how to get welfare to fund his gambling and his gender-affirming care. And yeah, that's it. Here we are. Now he wants to start talking about how he knows better than you how to do some shit, even though he can't drive a car. Which carries into why he can't even raise his own kids. And like, just like a gambling addicted welfare recipient, he's got like 14 fucking kids. Like, just like, you know, the illegal immigrant welfare receiving gambling addict who gets gender affirming care and can't drive a car. He's got 14 fucking kids, which is, you know, he's even, like, reportedly, like, had their genes altered so he could, like, only have boys or something. Just why he's, like, super fucking mad about his fucking trans daughter or whatever. I don't really understand that situation too much. I don't know too much about it, but apparently, you know, he hates his fucking trans daughter because he paid to have her be a boy or something through some gene editing shit that sounds like the type of shit that Elon Musk really would do. Like, even if it's not true that he did that, like, the fact that that sounds totally in character for him should really say everything there is to say about why this guy can't raise his fucking kids, and why he's got 14 of them, and why he doesn't have a real job, and why he has a gambling addiction. I mean, this guy is essentially just a spoiled rich kid who's like obsessed with like futurism and but he hates all his workers, probably because he's jealous of them, and he has like no idea like what he's doing as far as like how to set an example as a father. And I don't know, I guess he's just trying to create like a dynasty of like petulant rich kid subhuman rulers who are completely removed from the human experience and can only think in the thoughts of other people who they think they're better than. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know really. I don't know him as a person. I only know what I see of him. And I don't hate him because of what he is. I don't hate people for, you know, being a geek. And I mean, I don't blame him for his mistakes. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. I don't hate him because of his political ideology. I don't hate him because he's a gambler or a deadbeat dad or a welfare recipient, or because he hates his workers, or because he loves oligarchy, or because he's fucking delusional, or because he gets gender affirming care, or because he's a techno-fascist fraud. I don't hate him because he lacks any real life experience. I don't hate him because he lacks any useful skills. I don't hate him because he's an illegal immigrant. I don't hate him because he's a total beta male. I hate Elon Musk because Elon Musk is a fucking idiot.